Hi, this is Charles Kelly. How you doing? Mortgages and loans and credit cards are going to become a little bit more scarce this summer, and this might be something you want to think about if you're planning to perhaps draw some money off of a property, remortgage it, take some money out, do anything really to do with credit, because the lenders have informed the Bank of England that they are cutting back on mortgage products, and this includes loans, credit cards, and that sort of thing, and basically the numbers of products will be definitely slashed, which will obviously be a blow to the UK economy, to home buyers, people who want mortgages to buy homes. Obviously, you don't buy many in cash, and to the just generally to the property market in general, which has been through a rough time the last few months and needs a bit of a boost really. And this is the last thing that they really need. And this kind of mirrors what was going on in the last financial crisis in 2008, when there was this sort of credit crunch, they called it. This sounds like a breakfast cereal, the credit crunch, and mortgages really tightened up. And I remember this myself, trying to get a buy-to-let mortgage, and the broker said to me he used to have 5,000 products. All the fixed rates and the discounts, he used to have 5,000 products, and it went down to about 1,000 products, and it was becoming more difficult. Although, this current situation is not a banking crisis. The banks are not in trouble, but obviously they're thinking to themselves, well, hold on, there's this coronavirus going on, there's uncertainty with jobs, there's a lot of people, there's 9 million people on furlough, and we don't know if all of those will come back. I don't think the government incentive of £1,000 to bring people back into work is enough to tip the balance, and that's why a lot of jobs are disappearing. I was in town today and I saw a lot of places closed, places that may never open up again. If you think of all these cafes and coffee shops, and even chains like Pret a Manger are closing down a lot of branches, because there's not going to be as many office workers in there out eating at lunchtime. So I remember in the last financial crisis when it became difficult. I remember credit cards. I had two cards with a £10,000 limit. I think one was Virgin, one was MBNA. And I also kept them to one side. I thought if I ever need to raise a deposit or something, I can always get that money. And they used to send you a series of checks. So you had these like a concertina of checks, and you could just write out a check to somebody and send it off, and it would be paid by the credit card company. And then one day I thought, hang on a second, I haven't seen this card for a while. I pulled it out, and it was out there. I thought, they haven't sent me a new card. And I rang them up and said, what's going on? They said, well, Mr. Calais, you haven't used the card in a while, so we withdrew it. I said, withdrew it? You've never withdrawn cards before. You're always telling me to take more cards and borrow more money. But they were pulling the cards, and I went from having a load of cards in my wallet to having just 3 or 4, because they're all sort of disappearing, or they become uncompetitive. So if you're planning on things at the moment, taking any credit, maybe now is the time. Although you're best to really avoid credit in this financial downturn. You really should be saving money and putting some cash aside, because that's what you need to do when there's going to be a recession. So lenders have already started taking a cautious approach. It's understandable. They're worried about people's jobs, and in fact, Moneyfacts quoted that there's only 1 2-year fixed rate for borrowers looking for a 95% mortgage, compared with 137 before the crisis. So that's a massive drop. And for those with larger deposits, there is a bit more choice, but rates have gone up despite record low interest rates. In fact, I found this when I had to renew a fixed rate deal. It went up from 2 years ago when I had a 2-year fix. When I had to renew the fixed rate, it went up, and my payments went up substantially compared to before, even though base rates have come down. So lenders are having it good at the moment. They're paying virtually nothing to get hold of their money, but they're lending it out at high rates and charging high fees as well. Sometimes £1,000, £2,000, even £3,000, £4,000 fees on top of the mortgage. So they're charging your mortgage rate, and then they're charging your fee. So you say to yourself, well, I'm getting a really good fixed rate, but there's a £5,000 fee. Well, is it really a good rate? Especially if it's only a 2-year fixed rate, and then you have to do the whole thing again. So you've got to really look at that when you're going into a mortgage deal. So is it still worth buying property? Well, in the long run, of course, in the long run, property will go up. But I think in the short term, they are going to go down. I can already see anecdotally that property prices, asking prices, seem to have come down. Although one agent told me in the West End, he said, well, you're not going to get a £700,000 property for £500,000. No. Well, maybe you will next year. I don't know. But I've noticed that in some areas prices seem to have come down, even though the figures are saying they've gone up a little bit. I think they're going to come down. I also think the stock market's going to go down as well, because it's way too high at the moment. Prices have gone up to near January levels again, and it's just crazy. I mean, do people think that the economy is all fixed? I don't think it's all fixed. I think that the economy, it was bad before the coronavirus crisis. We're already expecting a drop in the market, and the coronavirus then came along. It dropped, but then it's gone up again. But I don't think that's going to continue, especially with the amount of money being pumped in by all the central banks. Yes, it's staved off the inevitable, but that's got to be paid back at some stage, and it's also devaluing the pound and dollar in your pocket. It's devaluing your currency. Your currency will eventually have less buying power. I notice also that national savings are having a big push to get people to buy premium bonds and different types of national savings. This is a bit like the war bonds, when they said, invest in war bonds to pay for the war and to save us. And billions of pounds was invested in during the war in the UK and in America, which is a bit like lending your money to the government. You lend them the money and they pay you a rate which should be competitive compared to the banks and building societies. However, they don't want to make it too competitive that all the banks and building societies are not getting any more savings. So that's what's happening at the moment. If you are planning to remortgage, I think now might be the time to talk to your broker. If you're a first-time buyer and you're worried about mortgage shortage, well, I wouldn't necessarily want to rush out and buy anything at the moment. I don't think prices are going up. But then a home is a home. It's not necessarily an investment. So if you need to buy a home now, you need to buy a home now. There's no point in waiting until the market's right. In the end, the market will go up over time. It always has done. I've lived through a lot of recessions, and yes, properties have gone down for a few years, but they've always come back. There's always going to be a bit of a shortage of property in this country. We don't build enough houses. There's 60 million people crowded into this small island, and we're mainly talking about the English market and the southeast. There's a demand there, and I think there will be for many years to come. So there you go. That's the news. A shortage of mortgages coming. Yesterday I talked about a tax hike on buy-to-let investors that is coming, and we also talked about a ban on advertising for DSS tenants that a judge has imposed. But I still think property is a good investment. You could still borrow money to buy property, which you can't do with shares. So look at it over the long term. It's still a good thing to do, but do watch out in the short term. So thanks for everyone who listens in on and tunes in on Facebook Live. Karina there from the Philippines, great to see you. Shirley, hi Shirley, how you doing? And great to see all your comments and that sort of thing. Always appreciate your company on this. At least I know I'm not talking to myself. And do check out my podcast on iTunes, which is called Money Tips. And you can also see my full blogs and everything on moneytipsdaily.com. If you're interested in getting into e-commerce and Amazon trading and learning how to do that, there's been an enormous boom in online buying, e-commerce trading. It's really going through the roof. So if you're interested in getting in on that, there is a seminar this Sunday, 19th of July, 7 p.m. It's called E-commerce Cash Flow. I'll put a link to it on this site, because I think whilst all the shops are closing and you've got companies like John Lewis closing and that sort of thing, other people like Amazon and Shopify, they're all doing very, very well. And their businesses, Amazon share price has gone up 60% this year. And Jeff Bezos has become even richer than the richest man in the world. He's probably the richest man in the universe now. That's a thing to get into. And I think you'd be crazy to go out and open up a shop when you could do something online. You'd be crazy to go and rent a shop in the high street, and you'll just be throwing money down the drain, I think, unless you've got some wonderful thing that no one else has got. I've seen so many shops close down, and I don't think they're coming back. but e-commerce people are really doing well. And now is the time to think about the summer, not just the summer, but the Christmas market. So if you can get yourself set up for the Christmas market, I think there will be the biggest Christmas market ever online in terms of online shopping. And even if you're selling offline, you've got to adapt to the online business. So there's a free seminar, e-commerce cash flow, on Sunday at 7 p.m. I'll put the link up. So thanks for listening, and do have a great weekend. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.